Alright, Footsies 101. So, neutral is when you and your opponent are just in mid-screen. Neither of you has advantage or not, and you're both sticking out like your normals, your like pokes, and your fireballs if you have one. And this is called a poke, right? And when you do this, you're expecting one of two things. Either block it, you're expecting them to get hit by it, or you're expecting them to press a button later than you do. So if I walk in here and I expect him to press crouch medium kick, the idea is that I'll press the button either before him or he's not going to be pressing a button at all. That's what a poke is. I think people call it a counter poke when you're trying to press the button before they are. I don't think the specific term is that important. But you need like this idea that you want to be in range and you want to press the button before they do. That's like fundamental why you're pressing the button in the first place. And Street Fighter V actually rewards this with a mechanic called crush counter. So if you counter poke them successfully, you'll get a counter hit. You'll get more frame advantage on hit. And if you do it with a heavy button that has a crush counter property, then you'll get a crush counter like this. But in general, when you're playing a ground game, you're looking for whiff punishes. Your opponent's not just gonna whiff buttons randomly unless they're like a really bad player. They're not just gonna be like pressing fierce out here like this, just spamming it, because then you can whiff punish it really easily. You have to set it up to get the whiff punish. The idea is that you walk into range and then once you're in that max range where their poke will hit you, that's ideally when they want to press the button. So then she would press crouch stand fierce, but I bait it by walking back. And that's what a whiff punish is. This is the range where Cammy will want to press it. If they're a good player, they're going to want to press the button at its max range. But if you're a better player, you know that they want to press the button at max range. So you walk in and walk out. You expect that they're going to press a button, and then you get a whiff punish. So Footsies is all this stuff put together. It's the mind game of the opponent knowing that they want to press their button so that you block it, and it's you trying to bait the range that you're standing at so that they're never comfortable with the exact spacing that they're at. So before I go on, I think there's like a couple of things that you can practice for this. The first thing is knowing the max range of all of your buttons. So I know my back heavy kick goes about this far. So this is the range at which I would want to comfortably press my button. And this is fundamental to knowing when you want to press the button. If I don't even know the spacing, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe it'll hit over here, then I'm gonna get whiff punished a lot more. But if I know this is the range that I want to stand at, I can walk forward and press it. I can be like, I think I'm at the right spacing, I'll press it here. And the only time I should get whiff punished is if they realize what I'm doing and they walk back. So you might think that walking back is just like the ultimate strategy now because you get the whiff punish with it. But the thing is, you do give up something when you're walking back. If you're the opponent and you're just walking back looking for whiff punishes, eventually you're gonna back yourself into the corner. And if I know that my opponent is looking for whiff punishes, I can just keep walking forward, press a button when I know I'm in range, and then just walk them all the way down to the corner. And the corner is a really good place for you to be. So just to reiterate everything, the first part of Footsies is the poke, right? You press the button, you're trying to press the button before them, and you're trying to press it when you're in range. If you get a counter hit, great. You can probably get a combo. If you get a regular hit, great. If they block it, that's also great. Then the second level is, you know that your opponent is going to want to press buttons when they're at their max range for the button. So if I think Cammy's going to press Stand Fierce right here, I walk back a bit and I whiff punish it. So you got the poke. If your opponent's trying to poke, you got the whiff punish. And then if your opponent's trying to whiff punish, you just walk them down and you try to poke them. It's just like a wheel of options that you have. One thing, I think it's unique to Street Fighter, maybe not completely unique, but there's an idea that crouching makes your hurt box bigger. Here my stand medium punch is not hitting, but if she's crouching, the hurt box actually gets a little bit fatter. So I think, let me show it again. If she's standing up, it won't hit her, but if she's crouching, it will get blocked. So this is really important, because when I'm judging for where my max range poke is going to be, if she's crouching, I'm like, oh, this is going to hit really far away. It's not something that people talk about much anymore. But I feel like you actually have to be part of the scene to really know about it, because the game also doesn't teach you about this either. But if your opponent is crouching, you'll feel comfortable pressing a button right here. But if the opponent suddenly stands up, then suddenly it'll whiff. If I crouch, I'll block it. And if I stand up, it's gonna whiff. The mind game is, if you think they're about to press, if there's a chance that they're gonna press a button right here and you'll block it, you can stand up and whiff punish them. But it's very risky if they're doing a crouching attack, especially like Karen's low forward, because if you get hit by it, then you'll take a lot of damage. But if you know the spacing really well, you stand up, you walk back, that's a lot of distance that you create, and then the poke will be much, it'll need to be much closer for it to hit you. So that's like how the mind game of whiff punishing works in general. I think there's one thing that I think a lot of people don't know about whiff punishing. Most top players, when they whiff punish, is you press the button even if you don't react to the button being whiffed. So you can see what I mean by this. I guess with the crouch medium kick. Actually, stand medium kick would make more sense. If you press the button right when you block the move, it won't come out on block, but it'll come out when it whiffs. So you press it right after you block it. But if it whiffs, then you actually punish it. So a lot of players think that, like, oh my god, this whiff punish is like the craziest reaction. But it's not really reactions. It's knowing that they're going to press that button and pressing, just, you're basically option selecting the timing. Do I do it on prediction over reaction? It's a little bit of prediction and a little bit of reaction, right? It's predicting what the move is, but it's reacting to the movement. I'm not sure what button Cammy's going to press here, but I'm predicting it'll be a stand medium kick and I can get a whiff punish on it. So that's why I'll initially walk back here. But I'm reacting to the fact that she moves. Like, you just see her move her body. I can't distinguish what she's doing. That would take me too much time. But I'm realizing that she moved and I think it's going to be a crouch stand medium kick. The way that you practice whiff punishes, it's not by just jumping and then pressing the button. I think a lot of players will just do this and think they're practicing how to whiff punish. It's good for finding buttons that will whiff punish, or like ways to whiff punish. But if you just practice one specific timing, all you're gonna be doing is like remembering the timing, but not actually whiff punishing. So the way that you practice it is like you walk forward, walk back a bit, and then press the button. But you don't even do that with one recording setting because you can memorize this timing too. You can see like, even if you're not consciously trying to, you'll remember what buttons are happening. But you'll record multiple times. Just keep doing this. And then you turn them all on. And that way you can actually practice how to whiff punish a button. Kami stand medium kick is pretty hard to whiff punish, like actually. So I don't think I'm actually gonna get it, except I did. For now, let's go on to projectiles, because projectiles are also a part of Footsies. The basic idea is that a projectile is a poke, or it can be used as a poke that just doesn't have a hurt box. Like you're just using the Hadouken right here. It's like a longer limb. The opponent shouldn't be able to react to it up close. It's not punishable. It's basically just like Colleen's back heavy kick, except for the fact that you can't whiff punish it. It is more punishable by things like jumps. And that's just something you have to worry about whenever you throw out a fireball or a heavy button like Colleen's back heavy kick. But if you use it as a poke, that's where you can really call it Footsies. And once you start using fireballs like farther away, that's more of zoning than Footsies, I think. Thanks everyone for tuning in.